Tell you a story about your grandfather. He was taken by the fairies. He went into the field one night and he see this rabbit. And he chased the rabbit all around the field. And as far as the rabbit would go, he'd run after the rabbit. And he could never catch the rabbit. But I ended up that he had to sleep in the fairy path all night. But the next morning he woke up, he found a gate of honey butter. Sure, look at Kinstra's house up here, where Tim Whelan is living. That was built on the fairy path. And every night they go to bed, they would hear the cups rattling on the dresser.
That was strange.
And they could clothes be brought down from upstairs, and every night this went on. So she went down to the priest anyway, and she got the priest up to bless it. The priest came up anyway and to bless it. He left his sack on the table. So started to say his prayer, and on the next thing the hat flew down onto the ground. So Mrs. Kinsley picked up the hat for him.
Yeah.
That was alright. She went down the second time off the table, and she picked it up the second time. So the third time it fell to the ground, the priest said, leave it there. He drove the fairies out with it alright, but he didn't live very long after that. And another thing, there was a fella by the name of Sam Johnson. He lived up beside where I was reared for Daddy Larry. That was alright. Furlong came from asking where on the horse and car to draw the sticks. Now Johnson didn't know he was going to draw them off a fairy path. He drew it all day long with the horse and car. Drew the sticks all day long. So I brought back the horse to Sam Johnson that night, and the next night the poor old horse got down the field.
Was it dead?
Oh, it died alright. They died and I could hear it roaring in pain. Oh, it was cruel. And the poor old horse lived 2 days, but it died. And she had drawn all the sticks off the fairy land with it. So, you can never draw sticks off fairyland. But another, Jack Hughes now, he was taken by the fairies as well. He went in on the field one night as well, and he chased this rabbit all around the field. And Jack chased it up and down the field, and no way he could catch it. And no way he could get out, because he couldn't find the gate. That was alright. He woke up the next morning, and he was after sleeping in a tree all night. And so we used to go over to the shop.
Yeah.
After that, Jack went a bit queer after that, and we used to go up to the shop. And we'd knock at the door, and Jack would say who was there. We'd say the Jack was the fairies. I said, the fairies going to take you. And so Jack would be there, and he'd be up in the corner, afraid of his life. But now there was another, Mick Hughes. He was taken by the fairies, but he was not now to Jack Hughes, but he was taken by the fairies as well. Went in on this fairy path, and he brought a tent. And of course, minute he put the tent up in the field, the tent had moved along the ground. Oh God, anyway, he got out of the tent. As soon as he got out of the tent moved up to the corner.
Strange.
Oh yeah, that happened. It was on the fairy path as well. But the next thing he looked, and there was a dog beside him. But the dog disappeared in a few minutes. But sure, the fairies after taking him. Should have Bog Lane, where your man dropped dead going to work, where your father made a cross. Malai was named, he dropped dead off a bike going to work one morning. And of course your daddy always makes a cross for we're up at the Bog Lane.
That's right.
But poor old Jim Larry was coming up there one day as well. And he had the gin and car. And this woman hopped up beside him on the gin and car. And she was dressed all in purple. And when he came to the Bog Lane, she disappeared. And no one else couldn't see her. It was in the daylight though. And that was grand. I was at the Bog Lane one night as well. And Sheila was with me. And I said to Sheila, so I look at the big dog. Oh, the dog was about that height. Where that, she says to me. And so there's a big dog there. And he went away in a minute. And Jim Larry was at home. And he was in the bed one night. And he was in the bed. And this woman came up and stood beside him in the bed, dressed all in white.
Who was it?
That was all right. He got up and she walked down the stairs in front of him. And Benny was coming in from a disco. And Benny met the same woman dressed in white. And Benny came in and he goes, "Why is a ghost?" And Jim said, "Don't, what's wrong with you?" "I'm after meeting a ghost, see down the road." He said, "A woman," he said, "all dressed in white." "Don't worry," he said, "I had her at the bed a while ago." He had her at the bed. Don't know whose house, but that was Gilbert's. And they were all playing cards one night, all around the table. It could have been 2 o'clock in the morning. And there was a back door and a front door. This man opened the back door and he walked straight into the kitchen where they were playing cards. Walked out. No one seen where he went. But she don't know who was laying. There was always a man seen at the turn. Years ago, you see, there wouldn't be that many cards out around. There'd be a couple of there wouldn't be that many going around. So there would be always a man seen on the corner of the house. And what happened there was the cars had pulled in to let the man by, and the car went into the ditch. So poor old Jim Larry often had to go up to pull him out 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But she look at your father. He come home, done all his work one night. And he said, going down Pat Burke's hill, "God, I'll have a big company now going down the road." He said, "This great big man, great top coat and all on. And as hard as your daddy go on the bike, your daddy wasn't able to keep up with him. And when the light of a car came, the lad disappeared over the ditch. No one knows where he was. And Jimmy Carr was out in Dunho's field counting the cattle a few days. Your daddy was after telling him. And we turned around, this lad was beside him.
Yeah.
The same lad your daddy had seen, a grey top corner. And again, Jimmy got to the gap, he was in front of him. And when Jimmy got up to the road and got on the tractor, the lad disappeared when he seen this car coming over the ditch. And no more, he wasn't seen.
Didn't see him no more.
No. So, Dunho's, Carrie Burke's Road, yeah, was haunted as well. And a hearse came up the road one night. Now that time there was, the funerals were drove by the pony and cars that time. And there was a coffin and all in it. Dunho's now was out playing. And the hearse came up the hill. And they wasn't long clearing off the road. So it was haunted too, you see. Sure, Dunho was rang about. Pat Dunho wanted Daddy to cut sticks off it. And Daddy wouldn't cut the sticks off it. No way, he wouldn't cut any sticks off the rag. So I asked Jimmy Johnson to cut the sticks. So Jimmy Johnson went off to cut him anyway. And Jimmy was no end in the field when the slash hook flew out of his hand. And no way Jimmy hunted up and down the field all that day and he could not find the slash hook. I said, he'd no look after it. So the wife caught hand the lawnmower. He was nearly killing Jimmy Lawler's child. Well, it wasn't his fault really in one because she ran across the road. So he got sick after that. He went into Wexford Hospital and they done tests and everything on him. And I know there was people in seeing him and Jimmy was sitting up in the bed like a little fairy's face on him. He was gone like a little old fairy face on him. And there was nothing wrong with him. The fairies took him. That's what happened, the fairies took him. So I did. And Johnny Casey, he cut on the yoke up here as well. Sure, Johnny to be sick now nearly every second week. The fairies takes you. When you win on a fairy pat, they have you and that's it. And sure, Dunno was now blessed well down there as well. I remember I used to bring news down when he was only children down this place well. And there was a big tree and it was lovely, alright. The well was lovely. A great big tree and a big hole in it. And there was threepenny bits, fivepence, shillings in it, 2 shillings and half crowns, 10 shilling notes in it. All left, people had to go down getting cured in it, you see. And rosary beads and all. But there was this man, I didn't know him that well, but I knew who he was now. And he went down with a crutch. That's Nola, he went down to the well with a crutch. And he dipped his 2 feet. He wasn't able to walk down the field. But he was able to walk up the field and left the crutch there. That was a cure. And sure, Kinchler's go down God and made the stride the well. Sure, Daddy brought up Jenny was cured in it and Ellen was cured in it. And there's a graveyard down there. And you can see the walls all around. They stride it. Cattle stride it. There was never nothing done to them, but there shouldn't have been laying there. And there's another blessed well down in Coley now. But I don't know if anyone was cured down there or not, but it is a blessed well as well down in it. And I'll tell you another one I would think of woman. This Tinker woman went to this farmer's place. And the old farmer's wife was expecting, you see, and the Tinker woman was expecting as well. And the old farmer's wife looked out the window. Here comes the Tinker woman, she would litter of pigs. So the old farmer's wife had the baby anyway. And baby had a pig's head. Oh, that happened. That did happen. That's true. So now, I tell you about the man down below Wexford. He was going to work and he was carrying these 2 men with him. And he had a crash, but it wasn't his fault. He had a crash and of course your 2 men was killed in the car. So he was away at work for a good bit. He had been in the hospital and all. And he was home now and he went back to work. So when he was going back to work, then he stopped at this spot where you used to pick up your 2 men. 2 men hopped into the car anyway. And when he got there was no one. There was no one. So I poor old Creddy went queer after that.
Did he go to the mental?
Oh, I did. Of course he wouldn't. You go to the mental if you picked up anyone off the road.
I suppose you would.
Then. I'll tell you another one. Remember the ride now here? I used to tell you not to go on here. Not to pick any sticks off it. Them will follow you. And it's just like the banshee. If you found a banshee's comb, and if you found a comb on the road, you should never pick it up because it can be always belong to the banshee. And I remember this man picked it up and the banshee followed him. And that was grand. She had to get the poker and hand down the comb to the window. She killed him. And I said, old John Nail down here was supposed to shoot the banshee was only a bird. And sure, your daddy and Daddy and Nellie seen the banshee up at the Lennon's Bridge combing her hair.
Yeah.
And sure, they thought it was Nellie first, combing her hair up along and big long head of hair she had. They seen her. She'd follow you and O'Toole and O'Donoghue and all like that. So she would. We were going up to Mass one night and you was only small. We're up here at Lennon's Bridge. And the next thing we heard this roar. Oh, the bow was violent, all down along by the river. Could hear. That's why she goes all down along by the banks. And I said to someone dying. I mean, you were all afraid anyway, so we came home and went to Mass and we came back down anyway. And the next morning we got word that poor old Peter Bryan, his mother was dead, Annie. And she was after following her. Sure, she'd cry all night. So I heard her come down Donoghue's ditch all down along there the river bank and she'd cry. She'd all down along Lynn's Bridge is haunted. Because surely you could hear. I heard footsteps one night coming down along. And if the sweat pours off of you, that's the time there's someone behind you. There's someone behind you. That time when the sweat pours off you. She look at the 2 lads playing cards. Johnny and Tom. Playing cards and it could have been 2 o'clock in the morning. Tom said he'd go home. And Johnny said he'd stay on for another while anyway. That was grand anyway, of course. Tom went along this road and he heard this lovely music in the ditch. and playing all lovely music. So he was there surely dancing maybe for an hour when his friend came along. You're not going home yet, Tom? No, I said, how could you go home? It's lovely music. And the lad was tamping the feet at the ground like that, and the lad looked down, and Tom had the clothes and all of him. Shirt, coat and all of him. That was, give him a nudge like that. Seeing the devil's feet in the ditch. And the lad dancing. Time Tom to see me, the lad went along, getting up on his bike and go. I'm telling you. That's what I tell you now. And sure, there's another thing. Your father used to come home from work. Kinchler's house over here. That was haunted as well. Every night he'd come home from work, he'd see this light in the window. And it was all colour lights. Every class for colour.
Like fairy lights?
Oh, like fairy lights. It was all different colours in it. And of course, I think that he was getting sort of afraid of this now. But anyway, he went to the priest. He told the priest about the light. So I said to him, say, 3 Hail Marys, saying, well, no, Fairies, he won't see the lights anymore. So he did do it. And he used to hear the chains down here, the nose, at Nolan's, coming up along behind you. And sure, I was at 10, you know, the thing. Poor old Pat, don't know. Poor old Jory Murphy. Pa went home and he said, I seen Jolie in the ditch. And Jolie used to live down the fields, and she'd come up the lane, up the maybe 2 or 3 fields. And she'd always change her boots at the head of the lane. She'd bring 2 pairs with her. So Pat said he'd seen her. So we got anyway. Pat stopped anyway, of course. Jolie, there was no one there when he stopped.
Yeah.
So he went home and he said that was funny. He said he'd seen Jolie at the gate. And he got stopped the car and said Jolie wasn't there. So about maybe half an hour of that, they got word Jolie was dead. He had seen Jolie. He had seen Jolie already. And poor old Pat was the same. Up at the head of the lane, he was seen as well. And another thing, if you see a hair on the road, if you're pregnant, you'll have to rip your dress or jumper. Not the baby, you'll have a hair lip. That's another thing. And years ago, you see, you go to the gal, the blessed salt and holy water Easter, and all the farmers would go to each corner to pay for each corner and bless them. And that would save the crop the whole year round, you see. Yeah, cattle and all. And if the cows had a disease, you could be a piece over grass, turn it over like that. You turn back, just raise up the grass like that, and then you turn it back. And the cattle is healed all in that.
Alright.
That happened years ago. So I did. Oh, something that's not going to tell you as well now. Towards. Oh yeah, they were up, Daddy was up at the chapel one night as well. Your father was. Ballygarrett chapel, and they were standing at the corner. And this big light came on the chapel above. And it was all colours in it. And lit up the whole chapel, and no one knows wherever what it was or anything like that.
Like the other one before?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, there is years. And Jenny and Martin were coming down one night from the pub one morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'll tell you, at Lennon's Bridge. And they met this coffin. And the coffin, or they met this hearse, I could say right to you. And they had the coffin in it at 3 o'clock in the morning. Jenny was afraid of her life.
You sure wasn't Dracula?
Oh, where was that going that hour of the morning? I'd say it could have been going to the boat, maybe meet someone coming off it, maybe. I don't know, but I said to him that was haunted anyway. It was haunted though, you said it wasn't. And you can't take nothing, not a thing, a lump of a stick off a rain, because the fairies will come after you. I always told you that when you were small. So and more remnants, there's a blessed well down here as well, but it was never at that blessed well down there now. But there's another one going to Dunamore. It's in the side of the ditch. And that's about that. They says there was a cure in that as well. But, that's all true now, I'm telling you. Those things I'm telling lies, but I'm not.